County Wetland Board will come to order, and we'd like to welcome everyone. And at this time, I will turn this over to Olivia.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Our first public hearing this morning is Patrick and Nicholas Luca, care of Jacqueline Wilburn, Coastal Wetlands Consulting LLC, 9101 Coles Landing Drive, Gloucester, Virginia. The request is for permission to install 150 feet of Class 1 riprap revetment with 20 feet of a proposed revetment installed against a failing bulkhead, and the remainder installed 5 feet landward of the existing wetland along the shoreline of James Cove, located off Virginia State Highway 3, Maryball Road on Blueberry Point Road, tax map number 34-28E, VMRC number 260712, NAO 2025-02814. The agent is here with us this morning. Jacqueline, if you'd like to come up to the podium. We had previously had this one in, and it was proposed as a different revetment, and now Jacqueline has some changes she's going to explain to you prior to your vote. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
So what we want to do is grade the bank back 5 feet to get it in front of the existing wetlands, and then have the revetment go from there. The 20-foot under the dock, because there's no existing wetlands there, we decided not to mess with it and still have it in front of that bulkhead, which is also helpful. So it just kind of curves in, so it's going behind all the wetlands out there. Is there any questions or concerns or anything like that?
Madam Chairwoman, if I may, if you look at the pictures that are up on the screen, you can see what Jacqueline is referring to with the wetlands underneath the pier there. So that's where that revetment is in front of that, and then they're going to grade that bank back. So that revetment will be more in the RPA, still a little bit in your jurisdiction in the back shoreline there. But that's what we're looking at today. Thank you.
So you need a motion from the board.
We want to ask VMRC their
Yeah, well,
comments,
I mean-
and then the public hearing.
Well,
You're
what
gonna.
I'm saying is, after I go through all of that, then,
Yep.
okay, do you have anything you'd like to add, ma'am?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to add anything? Anyone on the board have any comments, or
No, ma'am.
I don't have a problem.
if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move the project be approved as presented.
Oh, was there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
All right, Madam Chairwoman, our next public hearing is for AJ Kuntamakala and Lavanya Reedy, care of Salterra Solutions LLC, PO Box 1744, Kilmarnock, Virginia 22482. The agent requests permission to install 360 feet of riprap revetment, Class 1 and 2 stone, 2 100-foot stone breakwaters, and 1 50-foot stone spur, Class 2 and 3 stone, with 9,000 square feet of sand nourishment and 900 square feet of wetlands plantings along the eroded shoreline of the Chesapeake Bay. Located off Virginia State Highway 3, Maryball Road on Windmill Point Road, map number 3645, VMRC number 2026-0852, and NAO 2026-00838. Joey Scott is the agent, and he is present with us. Joey, if you want to come up. We did receive VIM's comments on this. Originally, there was an opposition from the owner next door. That has been removed based on a revision that Joey submitted. Joey, if you want to present, and then I'll read the VIM's comment into the record.
Yeah, or I'll just touch on the first part of it, and then when you read the VIM's comments, I can respond to
Perfect.
all of that story that was written. So you saw the site. The only changes that are to the site is we are removing 30 feet of that northern breakwater because the adjacent property owner did object to it, but he said if we could pull that further off of his property, then he would not have a problem with it. So he has dropped that objection. And then essentially what we have here, with the way that it is laid out, is kind of two erosion control structures on one piece of shoreline. you guys, I know, are definitely familiar with this stretch of shoreline. The 37 aerials of this show the shoreline actually being about another 800 to 900 feet offshore. There's actually some buildings out there in that water. Then you've got the groins that are there now. They pretty much became disconnected in about the 60s, according to Mr. Clemay, who I did his revetment permit for next door. So there's a lot of retreat here that's hit on in the VIMS report. I think it's somewhere between 3 to 4 feet a year. It's looking northeast, and it's a hot spot. So in coming up with an idea for trying to maintain the beach as well as protect the backshore, we have what has been proposed. Now, the two structures are pretty much in response to other items that I've seen along this stretch of shoreline. Further down the shore where Mr. Fox is, I don't know if you guys remember that permit from a couple years ago. He had a couple of functioning breakwaters, and then they got overtopped, and he actually had to put a revetment. I call it a revetment. I'm calling it like a beach sill, because it's really not a revetment, but it kind of just will go out just beyond the dune vegetation. He had to install that. Of course, his house is a lot closer than the applicant's house is. But the main thing to keep in mind there is that there was a breakwater there, and it functioned for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden it got overtopped a few times, and then it was a big problem on the backshore. Same way with Frank Burke stuff, which is further north of here, where he built breakwaters offshore, and then later on he had to come in and build breakwaters behind the breakwaters. I mean, so that's kind of why we went all out with this particular layout. Now, what you saw there this week is not what was there a few weeks ago and a few months ago. I've kind of been dragging my feet on this particular project on purpose because this is a great beach. It's an awesome beach. I don't want to mess it up. But at the same time, there's a lot going on there. I sent some pictures to Olivia. I'll give them to y'all. They're all, it's just one copy. But there's just one copy of those pictures, but it's at 3 different points. It's in September and in March and then again in June. And if you look through each of them, you'll see that what's there now wasn't really there in March. And back in September, it was completely just, they were, in September, I think the Kuntumakallas were getting very afraid because the backshore was washing out a lot. The dune, if you saw on the north side when you were at the site visit, there's a dune in there just beyond that pine tree. Yes, there it is. That's getting washed out. The grass that's there now wasn't there when I staked the job, actually, a couple months ago. So same way with the pine tree. The pine tree roots were exposed. It looked like it was done for, and now it's all back, got sand around it, looks great. So super dynamic site, and hopefully that rambling there, sorry for not being more concise, but hopefully that kind of explains to you where we came up with the idea for what we're trying to do. Now the pipes you see in that picture right there, the riprap will actually be channelward of that. And it will really be more of like a riprap sill, because there's nothing really to lay it on the back shore, so it'll have a flatter front and a more steep rear section. So, and then Lyle had all sorts of stuff to say about it, so I'll let you talk about that and kind of
Okay,
explain.
Joey, I do have one question for you. You said it's going to be channelward of those, so there shouldn't be any impacts of those grasses that are shown there, correct?
Right, that's what we're shooting for, is we're working around all of the existing shoreline grasses
Okay.
as best we can.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chairwoman, if I can, I will read the VIMS comment into the record.
Okay.
All right. Personnel from the VIMS Office of Research and Advisory Services and Shoreline Studies Program conducted a technical assessment of the proposal to construct offshore breakwaters and a shoreline revetment immediately channelward of a coastal primary sand dune along the bay side of Fleets Island in Lancaster County. The site of the proposed project has a large eastward fetch and has historically experienced a medium to high erosion rate since 1937. However, this site has demonstrated relative stability over the past approximately 20 years, which may be in part, at least in part, attributed to the shoreline hardening of both adjacent properties. The residence is approximately 110 feet from the toe of the dune, and although recent shoreline stability is demonstrated, additional protection from coastal storms is warranted. The project as proposed is expected to eliminate any future shoreline retreat, but has direct and likely indirect impacts to the beach and dune. We offer a modified shoreline strategy below for consideration that would increase the shoreline resiliency and reduce environmental impacts. The project shoreline currently has a robust beach and small dune rising to approximately 6 feet above mean low water. A portion of the dune on the northern end of the shoreline has scarped but is in the process of naturally revegetating. The remainder of the dune south of the pine tree shows no indications of erosion and sports a healthy vegetation community. The high slope beach and small dune provide some protection from storm tide wave energy. Based on the current shoreline situation, the need for breakwaters and a revetment is questionable. Project drawings show an area of separation between the landward end of the revetment and the dune that is planned for sand nourishment and planting, but no distance is shown. Therefore, dependent on proximity to construction, the dune could experience direct impacts and destabilization. Additionally, if constructed, the revetment will separate the dune from the beach and thus eliminate most of the intrinsic sand exchange between the beach and dune, and thus the ability of the dune to grow and continue to offer shoreline protection. For open bay shorelines with large fetches, breakwaters are proven effective in long-term shoreline stabilization and protection from storm waves. Because of this, we recommend the applicant consider using only the offshore breakwaters for this shoreline, which will eliminate the direct and most indirect impacts to the beach and dune. If the revetment is deemed necessary, we recommend deferring construction if and until the breakwaters and sand nourishment proves unsuccessful in controlling erosion. As designed, the breakwaters and sand nourishment will significantly increase shoreline stabilization potential. However, some minor dimension and placement modifications could increase their effectiveness. Breakwater design criteria are well understood, and the relationship between breakwater gaps to their inter-bay indentions between sediment accretion immediately landward of the breakwaters, tombolos, have been shown to adhere to relatively strict relationships and are contingent upon the shore-directed energy potential. For Chesapeake Bay shorelines, this relationship has been shown to be a 1-to-1. For example, if the distance between breakwaters is 50 feet as proposed here, then the distance to the mean low water line within the static equilibrium bay tombolo that develops is approximately 30 feet. Without the revetment, this would bring the back of the embayment between tombolos to close proximity to the dune and may eventually lead to deflation of the adjacent beach and affect the base of the dune. Also, if the proposed revetment were authorized along with the breakwaters as designed, the shoreline and the inner bay indentations would eventually reach landward beyond the toe of the proposed revetment and could destabilize its base. To address these potential detrimental possibilities, the breakwaters should be extended to reduce the width of the gaps between them and the proposed terminal spur, or placed an additional distance offshore. 20 to 25 feet is recommended for this case. We additionally recommend constructing the height of the breakwaters to 4 to 5 feet above mean high water for this large fetch open bay setting. The project drawings show an overall 6 feet of height, but it is not clear how this elevation translates to mean high water. And that was from Lyle Vernell with the Assistant Director of Advisory Services with VIMS.
So do we want me to address some of that? In the second paragraph where he talks about the dependent proximity and construction to dune experience direct impacts, prior to that he was talking about project drawings show an area of separation between landward end of the revetment and the dune. That's no longer the case because it's filled up with sand. When I staked this, there was a defined scarp there. So I figured the alignment, what they'd do is they would have the linemen run across there, and anywhere where there's irregularities on the backside of the dune, they would fill it with sand so that the dune could continue back to the revetment. So that's why that looks funny, because it's not what was there, and probably, who knows, might not be there next month because the site's always changing. And then he also talks about in the third paragraph, basically talking about he believes that the breakwaters, if it goes through as a breakwater and revetment, he'd like for the breakwaters to be built, and only after they don't function properly would the revetment be installed. And that's kind of what we're thinking in terms of doing this. The other piece of this puzzle is money. Breakwaters are much more expensive than a backshore revetment. So that will also play a role. And that brings me into the last part of what he was talking about with the layout. We're either going to need to enclose those gaps, 50-foot gaps, or push those further offshore, push the breakwaters further offshore. If we push them further offshore, right now, even though he mentions it in the last sentence that the overall height is 6 feet and it's not relative to mean high water, it's actually on the drawings. It's supposed to be about 3 feet above mean high water, which is, I will argue, or I will agree that it is not a huge structure. And that's why we're pulling them so close to shore, to try to alleviate some of that. So I guess my question to you guys, since I couldn't get down there on Thursday or on Tuesday because of a hearing in Middlesex, would kind of be like your feelings of the revetment portion of it, because that's really what's mostly in this board's jurisdiction. If we have to make changes to the breakwaters, it's all offshore, it's all in VMRC's jurisdiction. We may actually have to make those larger. But in terms of the backshore revetment, that's in your jurisdiction. I didn't know how you guys would feel about that, but I did want to explain why we're doing it. I totally agree with Lyle. It does break up that transition from the dune area to the beach. But so does the northeast wind if it blows for 2 weeks there, at 20 miles an hour and the tide comes up, as you can see from some of the pictures. So, got any questions or any feelings on the revetment portion of it?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but do we have to make an assessment of one or the other? We're now precluded from doing both? Is that our current situation?
So, right now, I'm leaving it as it is with the potential that we may have to change the breakwater portions offshore. We may have to tighten those down or push them further offshore.
Right. So
because Lyle is right, the 30-foot would put the way that they're laid out now, it could potentially put those sections in the openings as having the shoreline the sand come right up to the rock. And basically, you wouldn't really have a beach in there. It's going to end up getting kind of scoured out in there.
You used a perfect phrase earlier, said you super dynamic site, but looking in here, it's both belts and suspenders, breakwater and revetment.
Right.
And if you had to choose, which do you think would be most effective coming 6 to 8 months later?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, there are other existing revetments in this area that have withstood a whole lot better than a lot of the breakwaters. And I'm basing my judgment on that. So that's kind of, now, with that said, Dave Clemay next door to the south put that revetment in, and when I went down there in September, it was actually scouring out in front of it, and I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a big pile of rocks. And you come back in March, and you had a beach in front of it. So, but in terms of protecting the backshore, it was there and it didn't go anywhere. The beach loss is the biggest concern, obviously. Not only, I mean, it's not just an environmental concern, it's a concern for the property and the property owners, because the beach adds, I mean, that house has pretty much the only beach in that whole area. There's rock in each direction. It's the last one that hasn't been beat to death, yet, so.
And how would you gain access to that beach as it expands and contracts? Because if you have the breakwater and you also have the revetment, how does someone climb over the rocks?
Yeah, they'd either have to build.
What's your access point?
They either have to build something over that, or if they were willing to just leave a portion of it, in an indentation where they could get over it. But I permit all the way across there,
Right.
and then leave that to those guys in terms of what they would like to do. I'm tempted to, so since we had an objection, I didn't know if those folks would be here. All this stuff was kind of last minute. Lyle's thing came in yesterday, the objection got withdrawn. I wanted to have the public hearing since we've already done that, and I don't feel like if we make any changes, there's going to be any changes to anything that's within this board's jurisdiction. But what I'm willing to offer up is I'm willing to actually table it until next month, so I can reconvene with the applicant who, like I said, all this information just got divulged in the last 24 hours, to see which direction they'd like to move in, because if it's breakwaters only and it has to go further offshore, it's going to be a larger structure. it's going to be a lot more money. And at the end of the day, that's really kind of, I think folks take for granted that if you live on the water, you have a lot of money. That's not always the case, and in this case, it takes a whole lot of rock, too, for this site. I mean, I don't know what, I've got it in there somewhere, the fetch is to the northeast, but I'm sure it's north of 20 miles. So, I mean, if you're comfortable with that, I'm okay with asking it to be tabled till next month. I can get with them. We can decide if they want to do one or the other, or continue on with trying to do both, and whatever revisions we would have to make to correct the breakwater so that Lyle and I think Scott looked at it as well, that they would function. There's no use to put them both out there if the secondary one, if the breakwaters are not going to function. It's just a huge waste of money. I've been emailing Lyle back and forth. Haven't been copying you on that, but just to get feedback as to where he thinks and how the layout should be. So all of a sudden, it kind of became a very liquid project overnight that needs to be fine-tuned. But I did want to have the hearing, and I guess we can open up and see if anyone wants to object. But I also was curious as to your general feelings on if we come back with just a revetment portion of that, is that like a huge, you guys have a big issue with that? Or do you look around at all the other sites and be like, I think everyone in this area would love to have a beach, but the beach is just not manifesting itself as much as it used to for whatever reason. So
I don't know, but it seems to me we don't have all the elements of a final design before us.
Right. No, and that's why I say I'm okay with tabling it. I was just curious as to your feelings if the revetment as proposed, because we would either remove that or we would keep it in there. I mean, if the revetment as proposed, if you had any major issues with that, because it's a revetment in front of a dune.
Right.
May I ask you a question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you requesting that we table it until next month?
Yes, I would definitely request that because we do need to fine tune it, but I did want to get some feedback as to what your feelings were about the revetment portion of it, just the revetment portion of it. If you had strong feelings or how you feel, because I wouldn't want to come back here after we table it with just the revetment next month and you guys be like, nope, I didn't like that to begin with.
Well, you know better than we do that the variables are they're so numerous in each case.
Right.
You can't put a certainty on either breakwaters versus revetment. There's just a lot of on-site variables that will ultimately make it succeed or fail. But 18 months out, I have conversations like this. We make our best judgments based upon past performance of these structures. And for the most part, revetments have worked well, and so have breakwaters. And as you know, the consideration is a dollar sign in front of it. So you have to decide what you want to propose.
Right.
We can't make the decision which is best for the site in terms of efficacy ultimately. You and your client have to make that decision what you want to propose.
I think there's too many questions.
What we have before us at present, the agent is requesting we table it. So I'm asking this board for a motion to table it.
Before we do that, Madam Chairwoman, we do need to hold the public hearing.
I'm sorry.
We need to hold the public hearing before we do that.
Oh, okay.
So we need to ask the audience if there are any comments.
BMRC, do you have any comment?
No, ma'am, tabling is fine for me.
Anyone in the audience?
And Madam Chairwoman, I just want to say that staff's recommendation is to go with Joey's request to table it until we can get some more information. It'll give you time to consider the VIM's comments, look at the final proposed changes, and take all that in before you make your final decision. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of,
I'll make a motion to table the project as presented.
do I hear a second?
Yes, but I'd like to add to that, until we get all the elements of the final design.
I'm sorry.
Until we get all of the elements of the final design.
That's what I'm saying, but Olivia he'll be submitting to her and she will know,
Okay. All right.
if it's all fair and complete. And if so, then she'll present it. So,
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Thanks.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Chairwoman, our next hearing, the third hearing of the morning here, is for Lancaster County, care of Bay Design Group, P.O. Box 51, Urbana, Virginia, 23175, requesting permission to install an 18-foot by 20-foot ADA floating kayak launch connecting upland by 3 8-foot by 18-foot dock ramps with 4 landings and a 4 by 30-foot gangway to provide access to the western branch of the Corotoman River. Located at Route 3, Maryball Road, tax map number 15-730, VMRC number 2026-0705, and NAO 2005-04582. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and Board. My name is Ben Burton. I'm the senior engineer at Bay Design Group. What you have before you is, as Olivia has outlined, one of the additional parks that the county is improving for water access. This one is about 0.6 of a mile north of this, north of where we are today. It's a very straightforward one. It's a kayak launch, an Alumadock kayak launch set in the Corotoman River, deep enough. We found it to be deep enough to support the launch even at low tide without resting on the bottom. And then what proceeds from that is a series of piers leading up to the Chesapeake Trail that's going to be under improvement by the county as another part of this project. It's basically 8-foot wide piers with various ADA accessible and various resting spots. So there is no impact to the wetlands that we're going over or anything of that nature. I believe that at this stage, VMRC has indicated that there's no permit required from their side of it, and the Corps of Engineers has already approved this project.
Do you have any?
I just want to go through a few pictures for you all. The hike out to where this ramp will be located and access launch is about 1/4 mile. So if you look at your screen, you'll see the PVC pipe showing where that ramping will start. And then it goes through, down that hill through the RPA, then out over this area, giving you access to the water. And you can see where that launch is going to be located. And this will give the public access to the western branch of the Corotoman. It's a beautiful section just north of this building here. We'll see if this video will play. There we go. So this shows you the section there. That would be your access. And then you can either go up a little bit and under that bridge or down the river the other direction. So thank you, Madam Chairwoman. We're very excited about this project.
And VMRC, do you have any comments?
No, ma'am.
The board,
No, ma'am.
I don't have a problem with it.
if no comments? Oh, the audience? Is there anyone in the audience wish to speak for this? Is there anyone on? No, ma'am. Okay. If not, any further questions or concerns? I'll entertain a motion, please.
I move to approve the project as submitted.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Your next public hearing is Rappahannock Bluffs LLC, care of Craig Palubinsky, Bayshore Design LLC, 8518 Coppell Highway, Hague, Virginia, 22469. Request permission to install 2 180-foot and 1 50-foot armor stone breakwaters with 2,000 cubic yards of beach nourishment and 6,600 square feet of wetlands plantings, a 50-foot low-profile armor stone groin along an existing concrete groin, and 2 armor stone revetments, 50 foot and 25 feet respectively, along the shoreline of the Rappahannock River, located off Virginia State Highway 625 Whitehall Road on Courtney Road, tax map number 25-37, VMRC number 26-0818, and NAO 2026-00804. Thank you.
Good morning, Craig Palavinsky with Bayshore Design. I'm the agent representing this request. Okay, what we're proposing here is a total of 630 feet of bank shoreline stabilization. As you can see when you're on the site, it's a very tall bank, about 20 feet in elevation for the most part from the mean low water elevation. A couple different components to the stabilization here. We have 3 armor stone breakwaters. The 2 main breakwaters are 180 feet in length, and the western or north breakwater is 50 feet in length with 50-foot gaps. These are going to be class 2 and 3 armor stone, brought to a crest elevation of plus 5 feet mean low water. On the east end of the project, we have an existing remains of a concrete boat ramp, which is functioning like a groin. We're proposing just do a new armor stone groin immediately adjacent to it in the event that that eventually will deteriorate and no longer function as a groin. It's functioning very well now. So that's going to be the groin on the very east end of the project. At the 2 ends, we're also including a 50-foot revetment along the base of the bank on the east end to taper that in with the proposed bank grading, and then also a 25-foot revetment on the north end. The bank is going to be pulled back at a 6-to-1 slope on the base for a 12-foot horizontal distance, and then a 3-to-1 slope to the top. The landward of the proposed breakwaters, we're going to add about 2,000 cubic yards of high-quality beach sand, and the Tabolo areas are going to be planted with a total of 6,600 square feet of vegetated wetlands to create a living shoreline. And this is very similar to a project they just finished last November, about 500 feet upriver, just on the other side of that house that we parked at on Tuesday. We have not received any negative comments from the adjacent property owners, and the project is currently navigating through the VMRC and the Corps of Engineers. Happy to answer any questions.
Is there, do you have any concerns?
No, Madam Chairwoman, I have no concerns with the project. Looks like it's going to be very beneficial to the site based on that huge amount of erosion that you see in the pictures here. This cliff, you guys have permitted similar projects along this same shoreline that have been very successful. We actually looked at a few when we were there because we went to the wrong site. But we made it to the right site. Craig helped us. And he provided these great pictures which show the extent of the erosion. So,
BMRC,
No comment.
anyone on the board?
I just want to be clear. You're going to excavate all 650 feet?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
he asked if you were going to excavate all 650 feet.
Excavate all what, I'm sorry?
650 feet. Are you referring to the whole length of the shoreline?
No, I'm looking at the drawing, I looked at the project, and all of that has, you're going to have to do something with it. It's a heck of a bank.
Oh, okay, he's asking you about the bank grading.
Yeah, the area that you see cross-section there going on a 45-degree, that's all going to be graded from basically the groin on this east end all the way up to the swale. So the area where we stood on Tuesday around the property line, that's going to be left as is.
Okay.
That's where the toe revetment's going along the base of the bank.
Okay.
Any upland or whatever?
So that section right there, the first set of pictures, that's going to stay the same because that's on the property line as of right now. They're not planning on grading that.
This section here?
Above our jurisdiction, Olivia's going to have to
Right.
speak with you anyway. So, is there anyone in the audience that wish to speak? How about on Zoom? No? If not, any further comments from the board, or if not, a motion, please?
VMRC, did you have any comments?
No, I asked her and she said no.
Okay. Thank you. Just making sure.
Hey, I didn't miss it.
Move the project be approved as presented.
No, second.
All in favor, signify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you much.
All right, is Joey still here?
No,
Okay,
he left.
okay. Well, I think I hear him coming back in.
Good timing.
We'll give him a second to get back here. Okay. All right, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Henry and Michelle Donini, care of Salterra Solutions LLC, PO Box 1744, Kilmarnock, Virginia 22482. Request permission to install 210 feet of stone marsh sill with 60 cubic yards of clean sand nourishment and 1,000 square feet of wetlands plantings for a living shoreline to be installed on Myers Creek. 60 feet of the sill will be additional stone added to the height of the existing sill. Located off Virginia State Highway 668 Meyer Creek on Colony Lane, map 26H2-2B, VMRC number 260850 and NAO 2022-00917. Just real quick, the reason this is before you today, it was previously permitted, the stone that was there is a Group 2 living shoreline. That was at the very inception of that permit process. Since then, they have refined that and included information on fetch that makes this project no longer a viable permit applicant for the Group 2. So it doesn't fit the fetch requirements. The fetch is too great for that. That's why it's before you today. So I'm going to turn it over to Joey.
So yeah, it was previously approved, and we're back here because the fetch in that, and one little piece of that area, it goes beyond the, what is it, mile and a half, I think it is. And even if there was no such thing as a Group 2 living shoreline, yada, 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 this is the exact same thing I would propose here anyway. They've either got to do that or they got to come back up into the yard and dig up half the yard and extend the revetment, so. As you can see, there was one there before, but, you know, it was, this one will obviously be bigger and hopefully hold a little better than that one. Portions will need to be planted, obviously, where you've got those sections that are cut in. Just put some sand in there and plant that, and just run that, come off of that revetment right out into the waterway and shoot straight across there.
You're going to reuse some of the stone that's submerged right now?
It's possible. Sometimes the contractors will do that. It just depends on how big of a nightmare it is to try to reuse it. But, you know, it will just depend. Some of that stuff comes up nice and easy, and some of it does not. So I think when they bid most of these things, they don't count on that, using it, so.
Thank you.
I guess if you have any questions for me.
Okay. Olivia, do you have any?
Staff has no further comment. I think you have something before you that Joey submitted. Joey, was this a revision that was submitted? Did you revise this one at all? There might have been a change to the drawing.
It's a good question.
I think it was received May 27th. So we had some additional information that you
The
provided.
19th. Oh, yes. The previous drawings didn't have a weir in it.
Oh, okay, so we've added
It
the
was
weir.
approved without a weir. But
I
yeah,
got you.
it's gonna have a weir. Just kind of an angled one, since it, you don't want it looking straight out there. That little highlighted section there next to B.
Thank
So.
you. No further comment.
VMRC?
No, ma'am.
Anyone in the audience? On Zoom? No. Anyone on the board?
Don't have a problem.
Huh?
Don't have a problem. No comment.
Do I hear a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the plan as submitted.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Madam Chairwoman, usually we would approve the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. However, you did not receive your meeting minutes in time, so we are going to hold off on approving the April meeting minutes until the next meeting.
Hold until next meeting.
And that was my fault.
Don't worry about it. Hold.
Give it another chance.
Crystal is above repose.
So we are holding the approval of the April meetings until our next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Okay. New business, wetland violations.
Yes, ma'am. I have a little bit of good news before we get into that. I just want to introduce Rory Lawley. She is our Wetlands Board intern for the summer here, so she will be helping us with all of our packets and attending site visits with us, taking pictures. So we're happy to have Rory with us.
Yes, it is nice.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so on to the violations. Madam Chairwoman, we have 2 unpermitted piers, it seems. We've taken some footage of these. You can see violation 1 on tax map number 3634. So you have before you a sworn complaint for this violation. The complaint is that I have personally inspected the site on May 1st, 2026 via drone and the closest road right-of-way and noted the following unauthorized activity: an unpermitted and unauthorized pier over an existing wetland. We have another picture. This was taken via drone that shows the extent there. And so this is the first sworn complaint on this tax map number. Again, it's 3634, known as Cedar Island. The next sworn complaint that we have, violation number 2, this is tax map number, this is directly across the channel there. It's tax map number 36B-1-1. You'll see a large pier there that was permitted, and then next to it, there is a structure that appears to be a pier or a ramp, and that was only visible via the drone. And so that has been placed there as well. We did receive complaints from the public about these structures on the suspicion that they were unpermitted. So upon inspection, this is what we were able to find. So I also have a sworn complaint for that unpermitted structure. And that complaint states, I have personally inspected the site on May 1st, 2026 via drone and noted the following unauthorized activity: an unpermitted and unauthorized pier over an existing wetland. And so what I'm asking the board for is to consider these 2 sworn complaints. And I'm requesting that you direct me to submit a show cause letter or to mail a show cause letter rather to the owner of these parcels. The same person owns both parcels. And that show cause letter will ask him to attend our next meeting where we will review the violation and he can present evidence as to whether or not these structures were permitted, unpermitted, and what these structures exactly are. After that point, we will proceed accordingly based on the evidence that is revealed in that hearing. So, Madam Chairwoman, I'm asking for a motion for the show cause letter to be sent by staff on your behalf.
Madam Chairman, I make the motion for the Board to direct Ms. Hall to draft a show of cause letter to be sent to the owner of both parcels on behalf of the Lancaster County Wetlands Board.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. I was getting ready to read it. You said, never do I hear a motion.
That you, Ed, you were to say, do I hear a motion, but we got there, so we're good.
What's that?
We're good.
Very good. You beat you.
And that's all the new business that we have. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Oh, there's no further discussion. I move that we adjourn at, what time is it? About 10:12?
Thank you.
Okay, adjourned at 10:12.